Back in February 2022, the Redmi Note 11S was launched alongside its siblings, and this version sits in between the base model and the 5G variant in the Redmi Note 11 lineup. After months of its debut, is the Redmi Note 11S worth your money and consideration at this time of the year? Let's find out in this review after using this device for quite a while now since it came out. As a recap, this budget Note device, now selling for a price of 158,000 Naira, features a 6.43 inches AMOLED screen coupled with 90Hz adaptive refresh rate, a 108 megapixel main sensor headlining the AI quad camera setup, 5000 mAh battery and MediaTek Helio G96 chipset. Here I'll talk about the basics, the likables and unlikables, and end with my thoughts on value for money. Starting with the design, there is nothing to shout about when it comes to the design concept. The backplate is made of plastic with matte finish alongside this shiny effect all over your face. It also has IP53 water resistance too, meaning it can withstand accidental splashes or drops from rain. The edges are kind of curved and its metallic frame is actually made of plastic. And being a plastic body, this device withstood some knocks and drops thanks to the included well-fitted jelly case that helped in keeping it clean all this while. And also the Corning Gorilla Glass 3 protection for the screen, which is likable for the selling price. In overall aesthetic, the design is typical. Nothing really stood out for me when it comes to the design. What you see is what you get. The display, however, was able to provide a very good viewing experience, as the centerpiece of it is the 6.43 inches AMOLED panel that has amazing brightness and contrast with vibrant color, and yet not oversaturated, while the blacks are deep as expected. Plus, these aren't boring panels with colors or brightness level that will have you wish you had an IPS display. And you also get to choose between a balanced profile, a saturated look, or a vivid dynamic look, depending on what works best for your eyes. Using it outdoors gave no issues, as the display is decently bright and mostly usable under the glare of the midday sun. Thankfully, the screen refresh rate wasn't kept at 90Hz. You have the choice to choose between 60 or 90Hz. I recommend the latter for that extra dash of smoothness. However, you don't get HDR and the viewing angles are very far from the best, but for its price, I doubt there will be complaints. The overall viewing experience here is good and likable, as I particularly enjoyed watching Netflix and YouTube on this device. And also, the stereo speakers here provided clear and loud audio both for gaming and multimedia. Thought that my hands would be a hindrance for it when using the smartphone in landscape, but surprisingly the sound wasn't muffled. The 12nm MediaTek Helio G96 processor from 2021 is still a respectable choice for this device price. With the Mali G57MC2 GPU, it provided a decent combo of gaming and multitasking performance. The RAM and storage are also up to par in terms of speed with other devices in this price range. Personally, I prefer the Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 chipset on the Redmi Note 11 base version and not the Helio G96 on this Note 11S. But from use, I don't think you'll be able to tell a difference. I have also used the Snapdragon 680 on a more expensive device, so I can vouch for both processors being good, but I still prefer the Snapdragon 680 offerings from Qualcomm. However, gaming on this device is as smooth as seen, and the phone was barely warm to the touch after 30 minutes of gaming. Games like Call of Duty Mobile can only go to medium in quality and higher frame rate. Still very playable though, but not with the highest settings, and that is because the processor is not that good enough for high graphics demanding games. But for daily multitasking and social media, it remains snappy when switching between apps. And the battery life also seemed good too, with the phone lasting over 14 hours of use. It took up to 1 hour 30 minutes to fully top up its 5000 mAh battery with its relatively slow 33W fast charging feature. Meanwhile, the 33W fast charger of course feels slow for me after getting used to a device that charges within 20 minutes from 0 to 100%. But it is way better than 22 or 18W charging that most devices support. Rounding up this review is the cameras. The 108 megapixel main shooter here is great, and so is the 16 megapixel selfie camera. These are the only cameras you'll be using. I know there are 3 other lenses, but forget about them, they won't serve you well. Pro mode provides option for using the full 108 megapixel and manual controls for white balance, aperture, shutter speed and exposure. You also get a choice between ultra wide angle and wide angle lenses for taking photos and videography. Unfortunately for this camera, it was kept at 720-30 fps and 1080-30 fps with no 60 fps option, which is so disappointing, and there is no stabilizations available as well. The processor in this device has max support for more fps, but Xiaomi somehow didn't use it, which would have made shooting videos on this phone to be a lovely experience. However, the resulting images from the main optics were detailed, though they can seem overly sharp at times. Colors were generally spot on, while greens and reds seem slightly boosted. Image quality shooting with this camera is decent, with plenty of detail in good lighting and a reasonable amount of dynamic range. Meanwhile, the low light performance could be better. Most users shopping in this price range though will be satisfied with the camera performance, especially during daytime and plenty of light indoor. In terms of selfies in daylight and indoors with good lighting, it provided vibrant and detailed selfies. The obvious omission is the selfie night mode. Without it, you will rely on lighting and the screen flash. I would like to know your thoughts on these cameras from the comment section down below. All things considered, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 11s offers good value for its features and performance. It's a solid and affordable mid-range phone that you can get. However, Redmi Note 11 series is bloated with very many devices that can confuse even reviewers like myself on which to recommend. But personally, for the price of 158,000 Naira for the 8GB RAM unit I have here, I would advise to top a little more cash and go for the Pro version, which is no different from its siblings here in terms of camera setup and processor, but has bigger screen size coupled with Super AMOLED display, 120Hz of refresh rate, as well as the Corning Gorilla Glass 5 and 67W charging speed. That's not to say that this isn't a good device for anyone whose budget is kept at the price point. It's a great device with capable cameras, good battery life, vibrant display and capable processor. But if it's a 5G phone that you want, you can consider its 5G model or Infinix Note 12 Pro 5G instead. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you when next you see me.